The nails pulsed. Akragar frothed. The hive spires of Eclipsion Prime were on fire. The remnants of broken void ships fell through the skies as flaming meteors. The billowing smoke of a burning hive city glowed red. The World Eaters had brought the apocalypse, and the apocalypse was the color of blood. Akragar sprinted through the ruined streets. He was alone. The Skull Champion had left his berserkers behind, his gladiators rampaging through the final zones of armed resistance. The nails had screamed at him when he had torn himself from the killing. They tortured him still, even as he paused to drag a mewling adept from beneath the collapsed wall and decapitate her. It was a mind-numbing agony, a lurching onslaught of anhedonia and deadened feeling. Akragar ploughed on, nonetheless. He had a plan, or at least an impulse, an idea that dragged him to the toppled heights of the hive spires, away from the worst of the killing. He saw his destination ahead, a private spaceport at the very peak of the hive, reserved for the nobility and the pampered princelings of the Adeptus Terra. It was a jutting platform from a spindly spire, sagging where the support pillars had fallen away and crashed into rubble. What was left was a madman's scenic viewpoint of the final killing zones, a place from which to see the hive city die, and the Imperial relief force march over the horizon. Akragar doubled his pace. The spaceport continued to sink beneath the crushing insistence of gravity, its remaining support pillars fractured, the metal groaning between gusts of black-red smoke. Without warning, a heavy bolter opened fire on him. Bolt rounds slammed into the street. Rockcrete shards smashed across his armor. The Skull Champion roared in fury. The nails lanced through the fizzing pathways of his brain. Akragar veered off the road, pounding scattered rubble into architectural ash. The shooter was above him. He was not some pup of the Astra Militarum. He was too well equipped for that. His black carapace chestplate was dulled by dust and soot. Each of his limbs was a heavy bionic, allowing him to brace and fire his heavy bolter without a tripod or support. Some mercenary. Some bodyguard for a nobleman too feeble to fight for himself. Akragar charged towards the building. His foe had traded the structural integrity of his perch for a good firing line, and the Administratum officers swayed dangerously in the howling winds. The line of bolt rounds coiled towards the Berserker, the mercenary efficiently adjusting his aim. But he was only human. Akragar was faster. He reacted more quickly. He stayed ahead of the bolts. Neglecting the front door, Akragar simply thrust his shoulder forwards and ran through the wall. His armor system screamed in protest as the brick disintegrated. Reverberations of dull pain shot across his arm. And yet, the Skull Champion was barely slowed. He crashed through an interior wall, searching for the stairs. The office block trembled. Cracks in the floor above widened to gaping chasms. The ceiling collapsed. The mercenary fell through, hitting the ground before Akragar found the stairs. To his credit, the mercenary still had his heavy bolter. Despite being sprawled on the floor, half buried in masonry and dust, he dragged the weapon upwards and almost managed to ready it before Akragar fell upon him. The Skull Champion smashed through the falling ruins like a shark swimming through red waters. He kicked away the heavy bolter before its muzzle reached his face. The weapon thundered. A train of explosions unleashed more structural mayhem as the gun slipped from the mercenary's grasp. Akragar's chain axe slammed down. Between the spinning teeth and the Skull Champion's grotesque strength, the mercenary's carapace chestplate shattered. The axe head found the wet meat of the man's flesh. Akragar yanked his axe free and then buried it into his enemy again. The mercenary was a fighter. Even as he screamed, he drew a combat knife and smashed it into Akragar's side. The blade broke against the ceramite. It sliced open the mercenary's hand as the third axe strike opened another chasm in his body. The Skull Champion mashed his axe again and again into the corpse, transforming what had been a person into wet, bloody rags. The nails sang a joyful chorus of slaughter. For a blessed moment, Akragar felt relief. But the moment passed. Akragar noticed the shattered combat blade, one piece stuck in his armor. He picked it out and held it aloft, glancing upon the dead man's face.
Not bad.
His axe flashed down towards the man's neck. The Skull Champion picked up the decapitated head and drove it into a spike on his belt. The building shuddered and then collapsed entirely. It took Akragar a few minutes to dig his way out. He was more inconvenienced than hurt. He was a monster clad in bloody crimson, dust cascading off spiked shoulders. Heavy chains wrapped around his wrists, one hanging loose, the other fixed to the handle of his axe. His brazen helm formed blunted horns, around which swirled ash and smoke. His belt, little more than an irregular line of vicious meat hooks, were adorned with fleshless skulls and decapitated heads. Akragar shook himself like a dog emerging from water. Rockcrete dust and splinters of brick flew off in a cloud, and he resumed his advance on the spaceport. The nails magnified their torment. They tightened on his grey matter, dull waves of depressive squalor failing to smooth out the spasms of pain. The Skull Champion gritted his teeth and pushed on. The spaceport gates were half melted, twisted into a metal thorn bush. The Skull Champion wrapped his gauntleted fists around two bars and wrenched them apart. He made his way inside. It was not a large complex, not like the bustling bureaucratic hellscapes of the public spaceports. In truth, it was little more than a single landing pad and a fueling station, a comms tower having already collapsed and shattered to pieces some hive levels below. The fueling station had exploded, iron shrapnel scattered across the scoured landing pad, fires still blazing merrily in the Promethean vapors. There were no shuttles left. The preening rulers of the hive had long fled, abandoning their people unto death. Akragar made for the landing pad, feeling the platform sink beneath his heavy footfalls. Without fear or hesitation, he strode to the edge and stared out across the bloody apocalypse he had helped bring. The sky still burned. Orbital docks broke apart under the groaning stress of gravity. Asteroid showers of shattered spaceships bombarded a wasteland of irradiated Earth and polluted mires. Red smoke made a mirage of a war-stricken horizon, but Akragar spied dust rising through the smog, the telltale signs of the Imperial Relief Force come to join them in the bloody worship of Khorne. The nails pulsed at the thought. The Skull Champion almost lost his footing. He stumbled, almost falling off the edge and into the burning expanses below. Growling to himself, Akragar glanced down at the hive levels beneath. The hive city was gutted in dozens of places, smashed asunder where orbital wreckage had crashed through mile-thick adamantium-rad walls. Battle still raged in the last pockets of resistance. Gunfire and screaming echoed strangely in the smoke, distorted by the crackling fires. Akragar lowered himself to his haunches, staring through red eyes into the smog and carnage. He could not make out any individual berserkers or their victims, but he could hear them. Distant exultations to Khorne boomed with heavy reverb through his stomach, stirring the nails to constrict tighter around his mind. He felt blood run from his nose. The nails were squeezing, blending his brain meat into a thick, gory paste. He staggered. Again, he almost toppled from the edge of the spire. The nails wanted him dead. He had refused them for too long. Now they were killing him, crushing his mind into a dense ball of cracking volcanic rock.
Not yet.
Akragar kept searching through the smog. The nails made it difficult to think. His vision blurred. But eventually, he saw it. Slaughterfiend. The demon engine rampaged through the hive streets, scuttling on four clawed legs. Its forelegs gripped a battle tank, huge mechanical pincers punching through the reinforced hull like a baling press in a salvage yard. Akragar grunted as the defiler snapped its claws shut within the Lehman Russ's insides. A moment later, it threw apart its arms, ripping the tank in two. Akragar's eyes gleamed. The nails briefly relented, as if anticipating his next actions. Slaughterfiend lumbered forwards, seeking its next target. A squat upper torso rested on 6 oversized insect legs. Its lower chest was flayed open by a roaring battle cannon, constantly belching burning shells. Brutal weapons thrust from the torso's shoulders, like bionic replacements for crudely amputated arms. On the right was a heavy flamer, barrels blazing red as it chugged oily smoke. On the left was a flailing collection of lashing power scourges, grasping beyond the reach of the Defiler's claws and infested with overlapping layers of churning teeth. A gout of fire washed from its heavy flamer. A squad of Imperial soldiers disappeared beneath the inferno and smog. Slaughterfiend flung out its power scourges, teeth carving through melting bodies. The flails eviscerated corpses and separated flesh into bloody chunks of smoking meat. The Defiler bellowed. Its battle cannon blew a crater into the side of a building, showering the streets in broken masonry. It charged forwards. It moved almost directly beneath the Hive Spire spaceport. Akragar rose. He rushed a few steps back and then sprinted towards the edge of the platform.
Slaughter!
He leapt. He was a brazen angel of blood and rage in a fire-racked sky, plummeting through the heavens to the hive levels below. He fell almost 2 kilometers. Smoke parted around his descent. His aim was true. Akragar slammed onto Slaughterfiend. The impact was so loud that it was as if the battle suddenly quietened, and all eyes turned to give witness. The landing should have been fatal. Even a transhuman Astartes in full power armor could not survive such a fall. His feet should have crumpled into mangled paste. His leg bones should have shattered and driven upwards through his diaphragm and vital organs. His armor should have become a compressed mess of gnarled metal. But in that moment, Akragar felt the blood god's eyes upon him. In that moment, Khorne gave favor and let his champion survive. Akragar roared. Khorne had spared him, but there was still pain. Agony shot through his legs where they should have liquefied. Gravitational force shuddered through ceramite-treated bones, reverberating torture through every nerve. The only thing that didn't hurt was his head. The nails were silent, urging him on. Slaughterfiend reared up onto 2 legs, its battle cannon howling displeasure at its unwanted rider. Akragar locked his mag boots to the Defiler's hull. He maintained his balance, a rodeo performer atop a raging ball. A murderous thicket of power scourges flailed towards him, sparking and churning. Akragar ducked. The foaming teeth passed inches above his skull. He began to unravel the chain that fixed his chain axe to his wrist. The Defiler reached up with its claws, punching them into the space Akragar was standing. Grimacing, the Skull Champion deactivated his mag boots. The momentum of the demon's bucking threw him upwards. When the pincers slammed together with titanic metal shrieking force, they found nothing but air. Akragar dropped. Slaughterfiend lurched forwards, beyond the path of the Skull Champion's fall. Akragar flung his axe. Still attached to his wrist by the unraveled chain, the weapon flew from his hand and looped into a downwards parabola. The head buried into the Defiler's chest, breaking apart metal. From the wound burst blood, fire and oil. Slaughterfiend thundered in apoplectic fury. The battle cannon fired again, making carnage of the 6th story of a burning hab block. The chain came taut, dislocating Akragar's wrist. The Skull Champion bellowed pain. He trailed behind the Defiler, hanging from links of pitted iron. Slaughterfiend rushed forwards, charging directly through a building, the hab block seeming to implode around it. Masonry rained down. Blocks of rockcrete smashed into Akragar's body. His armor shrieked integrity breaches that the Skull Champion felt in broken bones and deep tissue bruising. All he could hear was the rushing thunder of exploding stone and collapsing floors. He took the punishment. With gritted teeth, he dragged himself up the chain. The Defiler came out the other side of the building, flames spurting angrily from its heavy flamer. It spun, throwing Akragar in a dizzying arc. The Skull Champion smashed through rubble, the impact so hard that he lost his grip of the chain and had to begin climbing again. Slaughterfiend howled in inconsolable rage. The teeth of Akragar's axe still spun. A constant torrent of blood and fire vomited from the Defiler's wound. Akragar resumed his ascent. He coughed blood on the inside of his helm. Respite came from an unlikely source. An Imperial Sentinel Walker stumbled through the chaos, las cannon whining before it spat a beam into the base of Slaughterfiend's torso. The Defiler staggered, as if pained, before descending on the Sentinel in frenzy. The Sentinel disappeared into a maelstrom of churning metal and belching flame. Akragar reached the summit. He planted his feet on Slaughterfiend's shoulders, reactivating his mag boots. He dragged back on the chain, driving his axe further into the Defiler's hull.
Submit!
Slaughterfiend thrashed. Its battle cannon made new craters in apocalyptic scenery. Akragar gritted his teeth. He wrenched the axe further.
Submit!
The power scourges came for him again. This time he did not give ground, protecting his head and torso with his free arm. The flailing limbs of teeth wrapped around the limb and tore apart his armor. Blood gushed from 100 crippling wounds. His arm was ripped into steaming pieces, shredded into slops of liquefied flesh. Akragar howled. He heaved ever tighter on the chain.
Submit!
The power scourges withdrew. His mutilated arm was held together by his armor, and nothing else. Bloody chains reaching past wet ropes of skin and muscle. The Defiler shuddered. Its legs bent. Slaughterfiend offered submission. Akragar bellowed pained laughter. With wild eyes, he looked across the battlefield and found a target. A platoon of Imperial Guardsmen massing into a defensive position.
Charge!
The Skull Champion dragged on the chain, directing Slaughterfiend towards the soldiers. The Defiler rumbled obedience and sprinted forwards. The Imperial Guardsmen screamed as Demonic Mount and its Berserker rider made their charge. The first squad disappeared under the gouts of a heavy flamer, shrieking as their flailing bodies collapsed into hot slurry. Another set of guardsmen were torn apart by the power scourges, ripping teeth, blending them into a Vitae smoothie. An officer gamely countercharged, power fist aloft, but Slaughterfiend simply reached out and crushed him into paste with its claw. It fired its battle cannon at point-blank range, the broken bodies of soldiers flying outwards from the titanic explosion. As Slaughterfiend killed, Akragar killed also. His axe still within the Defiler's chest, he used the chain dangling from his mutilated arm, maneuvering his crippled limb like the crude handle of a heavy flail. Each movement was agony, but Akragar didn't care. His blows still possessed transhuman strength, and the chain cut through flesh and bone. Men and women bifurcated into butchered pieces. The nails sang in bloody joy. Their delight overshadowed the Skull Champion's pain, a potent shot of Frenzen stim in the fizzing meat of his brain. The guardsmen broke. Akragar did not need to tell Slaughterfiend to give chase. The Defiler stomped after them. Together, they slaughtered and killed. Their souls burned together in red-hot, cathartic rage. Through the screams, through the explosions and the fire and the slamming reverberations of Slaughterfiend's claws, Akragar could hear his brothers chanting. They repeated one word, a guttural chorus in a temple of war. Akragar. Akragar.
Akragar.
Thank you for listening to this video from the Archive Tower. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to the channel.